Hey, it's Dave Brown here, host of Now with Dave Brown on AMI. Check out this latest highlight from the show. The 2023 Ontario Parasport Games took place across the Durham region of the Greater Toronto Area on the weekend. Alex Smyth was at the Ability Centre in Whitby, Ontario, and interviewed several folks from the games. Alex, what do you have lined up today in terms of an interview?
Yeah, so today we spoke with the other co-chair of the Durham Region 2023 Ontario Parasport Games, to get the full title out there, Mike Frogley, who we had spoken with Don Terry live on Friday. This is Mike, who is the other co-chair, who had a lot to say just about the impact and the power of these Ontario Parasport Games. So, Mike, let's get started. What can folks expect from the Ontario Parasport Games taking place this weekend?
That's a great question. I think what people can expect from the games, there's going to be a couple things that they're going to see that are really going to stand out. I think the first thing they're going to see is they're going to see a tremendous amount of passion from the athletes. They get a chance to see people doing something they love to do. And I think that's important for us because it really reminds us to look for those same things in our life. I think the second thing that people are going to see, they're going to see perseverance. They're going to know of the perseverance that is underlying the stories behind every one of these athletes. But they're going to see the perseverance that happens as there are those moments when you maybe don't have the best performance. You're not quite as fast. You miss a shot. You know, those types of things. But you're going to see the athletes get up and keep going. And I think that's another lesson for us, is to always learn how to persevere. Everybody's going to get knocked down. The challenge is, do you get up? And that's what we're going to see this weekend. And then the last thing, and I always talk about this with people around sport, sport is a language we all speak. And we're going to get to share in that community because we all understand the language of sport. And we'll see that this weekend.
Now, you wear many hats, not only for the Parasport Games, but also local clubs and other organizations. Can you talk a bit about your involvement with wheelchair basketball and how that's evolved over the years?
So I've been very fortunate. I started playing many years ago, back in the spring of 1988. I had an opportunity to have a career as an athlete, as an assistant coach, as a head coach. I got a chance to work on our development program. And so I've had lots and lots of opportunities to really help give back to the sport and grow the sport, because the sport has done so much for me. And now I'm at that point where I want to share that, and that's why I'm involved with the games here, is share the experiences I've had so that others can go down that path and that kind of journey as well.
From a coaching perspective, how do the games like the Ontario Parasport Games, how does it serve to not only give opportunity to the players, but maybe also give an opportunity to scout some potential players who may be able to go on a path to a greater, more national profile?
So that's a great question about one of the roles the games play. It's one of the multi-sport events that's on the pathway for athletes. And we've got examples of athletes that have played in the Ontario Parasport Games, went on to play in national games, went on to play in the Olympics or the Paralympics and represent Canada. And so what you get a chance to see for the fans that are coming is you get a chance to see some potential future Paralympians. For some athletes, this will be the peak of their career. That's okay too. And yeah, there'll absolutely be opportunities for coaches to see different athletes and to see how athletes are developing and see if it's time for them to take that next step, or how do they work with them in their current space in the sport and maximize their potential there. So you're absolutely going to see that type of thing. But from a fan standpoint, you get a chance to be able to see somebody who is, potentially a future Paralympian down the road. Not to put any pressure on the kids.
Of course not. You wouldn't want any undue pressure on. Now, you're also involved with Own the Podium. And so how does the Parasport Games work when bringing all these different sport organizations together? And do you use these games as opportunities to really kind of find out what the different provincial sport organizations are doing and how they can work to help better the sport on a more national level?
So Own the Podium really works at the high performance level in the sport, and the PSOs, the provincial sport organizations that are working with these athletes, and then the clubs, that's at the developing side. And it's absolutely critical that that the partners at that level work together. And the partners include a lot of different individuals. They certainly include the provincial sport organization. They include the clubs. They include parents. They include all the volunteers that come together, because it's everybody coming together, working together to make this experience optimal, so the athletes can really shine and show everything that they've done. And that's one of the things that's been a really incredible part of this experience for me as a co-chair, is seeing how the community here in the Durham region has really come together and how important they are as a sport partner. And what's going to be tremendous is there going to be other communities that are going to want to bid for these games to host them. And it's important for them to understand this is a critical role that communities play in the development of our athletes, the growth of our people in Canada. And so we really encourage them to continue to look for opportunities to do these kinds of things.
Well, and the thing is too, like when there's other communities that want to look to host these games going forward, they can look at the Durham region as an example of the level of accessibility and the work that's been done, because we're here in the Ability Center. It's a phenomenal accessible facility. Next door is the Iroquois Park Arena, which has a accessible hockey rink for para ice hockey, and all these different venues have really put that work in. So do you see this as an opportunity to showcase to other communities, okay, this is what happens when you grow the accessibility of your facilities, of your spaces, that you can provide opportunity for those with disabilities?
Yeah, it's absolutely a great example of how we can make a community physically accessible, but attitudinally accessible as well, and begin to really look at all the individuals that have different types of function, and seeing how can we better include them and involve them, because they have value. There's something they bring to our community. And on an even larger level, it's an example of how we can go about including anybody, beginning to look at people of all sorts of different backgrounds, differences, and see how do we include them and enrich our society as a result. Because that's one of the things that's going to come out of this. People are going to see the athletes, and they're going to start to think differently after seeing them. They're going to, instead of thinking of a person who can't walk upstairs or can't jump, can't run, they're going to start thinking of things like, wow, did you see that person hit that shot? Man, did you see how fast they were? And they're going to start talking about the things that they can do. That's how we want to look at all individuals. We talk a lot right now in Canada about being an inclusive country. This Games and how it's unfolding in the community is an example of how we can go about including people in Canada.
You clearly are passionate about what you do and about being a voice within this community. What are you most looking forward to? What are you most excited about with this weekend? It's been a long time coming together. What is it that stands out to you now that the weekend is here?
There are going to be moments during the games, and they're going to happen in the field of play and outside the field of play, when individuals, athletes for the most part, are going to be doing something that is challenging for them. And there'll be a moment where that athlete does that thing at the highest level they've ever done. And you'll be able to look and see in the body language, and almost like a light or a sparkle in their eye. And it's a moment where they're like, wow, I did that. And right behind that moment is a question they begin to ask themselves. I wonder what else I can do great. Those are the moments that I'm going to be looking for. Those are the moments I'm going to savor this weekend.
Mike, that was phenomenal. I'm giving you the last word. What else should people know about the games this weekend, and why should they tune in?
What else should people know about this weekend? I guess what I would say is I would ask each person as they come and watch the games this weekend, what is your passion, and how can you persevere to pursue your passion?
Mike, thank you so much. This has been great. I can't wait to check out some of the games and follow along with all these young budding athletes and see where their journey takes them.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing everybody here.
That's Mike Frogley. Mike is the co-chair of the Durham Region Ontario Parasport Games. Alex, you've got another interview to share on the show tomorrow. Who's up next?
So the final interview in our series from the Ontario Parasport Game, we're going to be chatting with para ice hockey player Matt Miller, who was attending his first Ontario Parasport Games. So we kind of touch base with him. We chatted with him after his first game, and then he had a whole other slate of games set for that weekend.
Very good. That's tomorrow on the show, right around this time. That's Alex Smyth. To learn more about the games, you can visit durhamregion2023.ca, durhamregion2023.ca. Do you want to dive into more conversations like this? Watch Now with Dave Brown weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern on AMI-TV or download the podcast wherever you listen. Do you want to dive into more conversations like this? Watch Now with Dave Brown weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern on AMI-TV or download the podcast wherever you listen.